Every week, I'm talking to clients who are either moving into a new home or they're building a home, and one question always comes up: what size TV should we get? Usually, this is in regards to the TV in the living room that's going to go over the fireplace, most likely. And they're trying to decide how big is too big, what size is going to look good on the wall. So, if you're the type of person who just says, I want the biggest thing I can fit on the wall, this video is not for you. Just go big, buy the biggest TV you can fit in your truck and hang it up there and you'll be happy with it. But most people I talk to, they care about what's the TV going to look like on the wall proportionally. How big is too big, and we don't want it to look awkward or too small or too big. So that's what we're going to talk about today: is how to get a TV that's going to be aesthetically pleasing while also being a nice size TV for your room. So we're going to talk about a few things to keep in mind. Number one, think about the size of, if you were going to have a piece of artwork on the fireplace above, where the TV was going to go, what size would that piece of art be? Figure that out, and then what's going to look proportional to the mantle and the fireplace and everything else. And whatever size that is, that's take a measurement and get an idea of that's about the size TV that you want to go with as well. I just talked to a client last week, this couple building a new home, and they were debating which size should we get in the living room over the fireplace. And after we took some measurements, he had one size in his mind of what he thought would look good. And then she was saying, actually, I think we need to do the bigger one because of XYZ. And he was remarking that how often do you hear the wife telling the husband he should go with a bigger TV? So I was like, take your chance now, man. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Get the bigger TV. Anyway, figure out what you think would look proportional on the wall. Just as a general rule, most 55-inch TVs are about 48 inches wide. Most 65-inch TVs are about 57 inches wide. Most 75-inch TVs are about 66 inches wide. And most 85-inch TVs are about 75 inches wide. And so you can measure and get an idea of how big it should be on the wall. Usually you want about 6 to 10 inches at least, depending on the size of the fireplace, on either side of the TV. So you could take that and say, okay, if a 65 inch is 57 inches wide and we would need another foot beyond that, you can kind of figure out how big the TV should be, as a general rule of thumb. You also have to consider the height of things, of the mantle and of your ceiling, because if you had a high mantle and a low ceiling, it might fit side to side, but it might look crunched if you had like very little room on the top and bottom. So you want kind of ideally, you want a nice even border, about the same amount of space all the way around the TV if possible. So that's the first thing to think about, is what's going to look good proportionally on the wall. Next, you should think about how close you're going to be sitting to the TV, because you obviously don't want to go one that's so big that you're kind of having to feel like you're pushing yourself back to be able to see everything really well. A general rule of thumb is take the TV size that you think would be good, and in inches diagonally, so like a 65-inch TV, take that and multiply it by 1.5 or 1.5. So if you had a 65-inch TV, that's about 97 inches. That's about where you want to be sitting, which is about 8 feet away from the screen. And it's not going to seem like it's too big. It's not going to seem too small. If you did a bigger TV, like a 75-inch TV, you'd want to be sitting at least like maybe 9 feet away. So that's another thing you could think about, is where are we actually going to be sitting in relation to the screen, and that might help as well. Just some general rules of thumb with this. Most people nowadays do either a 65-inch TV or a 75-inch TV as the primary in the living room, where you're mainly going to be watching TV. In modern homes, they have taller ceilings, bigger fireplaces, they're more open. You're going to be watching the TV from the kitchen across the room that's kind of connected. So those are the two sizes that most people pick. I do sometimes see bigger TVs than that. If it's like a two-story great room with a really, really wide fireplace, some people might do bigger than 75, but most people, it's either 65 or 75, and that's what looks good in a modern home. I rarely see anything smaller than 65, except in secondary areas like offices and bedrooms. You might do 55-inch TVs there. And just one other thing to keep in mind: people, occasionally I'll have somebody say, I could have gone with a smaller size, but that really rarely happens. I do regularly have people say, I wish I'd gone bigger. So that's just something to think about. Like, if you err on the side of getting the bigger size, you're probably not going to regret it. So that's something to keep in mind. So I hope that was helpful. Just a couple things to think about when you're trying to figure out what size TV to put on the wall.